Good afternoon, it's Mohd Nawaz. In today's lecture, we are going to see the topic triggers from our Unit 3. Let's go to the topic triggers. Okay, what do you mean by a trigger? It is a procedure, means it is some set of rules that is automatically getting invoked, means that is automatically getting executed by the Dbms in response to changes to the database. Means if a user is making any changes and if we are writing some trigger program, so that trigger program is going to be executed based on the changes made to the database. And who will specify this? DBA is going to specify this triggers. So a database which is having some associate set of triggers, means multiple set of triggers, that database is going to call as a database. So what is a trigger? It is a procedure, means it is some set of rules or set of codes that is already, that is automatically, implicitly going to be executed in the DBMS when there is a specified changes to the database. Means the changes can be by using the commands like insert, update, or delete. This is the DML commands, right? So with the help of DML commands only, we'll make some changes to the database now. If we won't allow users to do any changes with the help of DML commands, then we can write triggers to that database so that we can uh, rescue our data from any harm. Okay. So a trigger descriptions. It can contain three parts, that is a event, a condition, and an action. What is an event? Event is a change. Whatever the change is going to make to the database, that change is going to call as an event. And what changes we are saying, which activates the trigger. So based on the change made to the database, which activates the trigger, that change is going to call as a event. Condition. The next part is condition. It is a query or the test run, we can say. It is a query or test run when the trigger is going to be invoked. Means when we are writing a trigger, we'll write some set of codes. Okay. Those codes is going to be called as a condition. Action. What is an action? It is a procedure that is going to be executed when the trigger is activated. Means after trigger is going to be executed, the action what we are going to be take, that is an action. Oh, so we can count a trigger has to be a daemon. Means a trigger is can be called as a script which is going to monitor the database, and it is going to be executed whenever there is a modification to the database. Okay, so where this triggers is going to be worked, it's going to be worked with the help of three commands, that is insert, delete, and update. That is DML commands, DML statements that is going to activate your triggers. Okay, so let us see some more. Triggers are used to give rules. Means already we have seen in constraints. I see. That is integrate the constraints. We will be providing some set of rules based on the columns, right? Means if I am saying, okay, I want only integer numbers to be supports in my student table in the column roll number. So what I can give, I can declare it as domain type like data type as int. There only I am giving a rule, or you can simply give a check. Check will also then a constraint. With the help of the check also we can give some declaration like the roll number has to be between number 1 to 100. Right? These are the some of the condition we can specify on particular column or particular table. But with the help of constraints, we cannot give a condition to whole database. So that's why that was the reason triggers came into existence, which is providing us to give a conditions on database also. Not only database, but on whole SQL server also we can give condition with the help of a trigger. So mainly this trigger came when with as there was a drawbacks of the concerns, so triggers came into introduce, and concerns are going to be work only on tables. So with the help of insert update command, so your triggers are there, which is used for working on table as well as database as well as I can say SQL server also. Okay, triggers are going to be executed implicitly. What do you mean by implicitly? At the back end, if these codes are not seen by the user. See, if a table is there, okay, what the user will do, it's try to modify if he's having some permission. Means if he can log into the database, if he sees the tables, he can modify, right? So to protect the data, what we are doing, we are writing a triggers which is working at the back end and it is going to be executed implicitly. As the insert command is going to be raised by the user, automatically is going to be trigger is going to be invoked, it means executed. If we have written a trigger on the table, then only it's going to be invoked, right? So if we write a condition like don't allow the user to insert or update or delete, so simply what we'll do, based on the table, we give like on insert, on update and delete, don't allow, not allowed. So that statement is going to be displayed whenever the user is inserting or deleting or updating. We'll see some with of examples. Okay, let me show you what are the types of triggers here. Some of the types of triggers in MySQL are before triggers and after triggers. So there are two types, that is before triggers and after triggers. Before means before the command execution, after means after the command execution. Okay, so as we are having three, that is insert, update and delete DML commands, right? So we are having 6 triggers here, that is before insert, after insert, before update, after update, before delete, after delete. So what the before insert do, it will is going to be activated or invoked before the insertion of the data. After insert, after inserting the data into the table, it's going to be invoked. Means if I am for example, if I am having a 2 table, okay, what I am doing, okay, I am maintaining one details in one student table, okay. Second table I am keeping a blank. So and I am creating on first table, I am creating a trigger such that whenever insert command is there, whenever a user giving insert command to the table, okay, allow him to insert, but whatever the details is going to be given, capture those and store it in the second table so that I can understand, okay, this user has done this update function here. So this is how your trigger is going to be function. We'll see that's with the help of examples. Okay, update and delete also work the same. Before update and delete means it's going to be performed before the deletion operation or updation operation. After means after updation or after deletion, trigger is going to be invoked. So we use a statement that does not use insert, update or delete query to change the data, then triggers are not going to be invoked. The triggers are going to be invoked only with the help of insert, update or delete query only. Now let's just see a syntax of the trigger. So syntax of the trigger is how it's like a table, like create trigger, trigger name. Like we in the table we'll use na create table name and some columns, right? Attributes and all. So here also it's having some of the syntax like create trigger, trigger name, and we are supposed to mention here whether we are performing after trigger or before trigger. Means before the command or after the command. Okay, on which command we are using, whether we are using an insert, update or delete. So whatever the command we are giving here, so whatever the section of code we are writing here is a event, I can say, right? This only is allowing to happen, event happen. So this we are going to be called as a event, part of a trigger event. Next on table name, we are supposed to mention the table name here on, and for each row is the keyword which we need to specify for every triggers, right? For each row specify that, okay, it will be checking for each tuple one by one. Okay, if it is updating in any row, so it is going to capture for each row. Begin and end. Within this begin and end, we are supposed to write a trigger code. So that is going to be called as a condition, and as well as that are actions. Means condition means for checking one. Those part is whichever it's checking, whichever the statement is checking means condition checking. Whether it is an insert or update, those conditions are going to be called as condition part, and uh, we are giving like for previous example I said okay, whatever the data has been inserted that has to be captured, so that capturing statements are going to be called as an actions, right? Because this has been performed, right? So those are going to be called as an actions. Now we'll see one by one. before insert first. Okay, the syntax is same as for previous one. So we are creating a trigger name before insert on table. Okay, and we are going to declare. So for that, I have used some examples here. Let me show you in my workbench. Okay, this is your workbench. You can see here. Okay, okay, this is a workbench. So you can see I have created one database with the name triggers so that I can put all my codes there. Okay, using triggers now before insert. For that, what I am doing here, you can see here, I am creating one table called as employee, in which we are having some columns as name, occupation, okay, and working date, working hours. So I am having 4 columns and I have inserted some values in that. Let me show you the table here. Okay, this is my table you can see, which is having 4 columns as name, occupation, working date, working hours. Okay, fine. Now we are going to implement triggers on that. So I have already created, so I have dropped the trigger. So dropping means like you can drop a table, right? Drop table name. So for trigger also, you're supposed to write the same command as like drop trigger name. Okay, as I have executed earlier, so I have dropped it now. Now let us check what is the code here. Okay, this is your trigger. So what I'm doing here, create trigger before insert of occupation on the column occupation I'm writing. Okay, based on the I am writing on the table, but I am taking the help of a occupation column here. Okay, so you can write as create trigger name. Trigger name can be anything. You can write anything, but the best practice is you mention which command you are using and what time you are using before or after, on what column or what table also you can write. This is the best practice to write down. Okay, so create trigger before insert of occupation I am saying. Okay, on which table? Employee table, this below table. Okay, so for each row and beginning. So in that I am mentioning some code. Okay, so I'm checking a condition also and action also I'm performing in the same if statement. You can say if new dot occupation, checking here. New dot occupation means new. What is with my new? New is a keyword which is going to take a particular value. Okay, so based on the occupation column. So if suppose if a user is insert into employee with some values like ABC scientist. Okay, these are my 4 columns, right? So occupation column is which one? Second column now. So this value is going to be taken as a new value here, and it is checking now whether it is scientist. Yes, then if it is yes, then what is going to setting that new occupation value as doctor but not as a scientist. Means if you are not allowing a user to put occupation as a scientist, then you can replace it with anything. But here I have replaced it with doctor. So means I am making a user here not to insert a scientist, right? So let us run this trigger here first. Okay, so you can see at the bottom, create trigger before insert occupation has been affected. 0 was affected, means it has been executed. Now, let us run this. Now change some ABC to some name here. I'm saying some error. Okay, scientist I'm mentioning. Okay, I'm mentioning some working as 16. Okay, let us run this. Okay, it has been inserted. Okay, fine. But how we are supposed to insert that? Not as a scientist, but the occupation has to become as a doctor. We'll see. Yes, the last column with 16 working hours. Okay, we have inserted as error. Instead of scientist, it is coming as doctor. This is how you restrict the user. Okay, I have used a simple concept here. So you can restrict the user based on your query. So you can write any conditions here. Means if you are not allowing a user to perform any operation also, you can write like with setting some messages here. Okay, we'll see while we'll do practicals. Okay. Next, after insert. Okay, in after insert, what I'm doing is I'm creating some tables. Okay, and after insert means when it's going to be invoked? First of all, the insert operation is going to be done. Then our trigger is going to be invoked, right? So for that, I have taken an example of two tables here. I'm storing in first table as student information. Okay, and I have inserted some values and also in that. Okay, let me show you what are those values. So these are the values already stored in the table student info. Okay, and I am creating one more table which is capturing the details and capturing whether who is doing insertion or some updation commands over my table. Okay, for that I am maintaining second table which is having the same records, same columns here. Okay, but at the last I am mentioning as a last inserted time here. I am capturing the time, okay, from their system. Okay, so this is about the table creation. Now let us see triggering. Okay, now in the create trigger, I mentioned after insert details, I'm on the student info. With the help of student info, I am taking the records in student detail 1. Okay, so the trigger is going to be start here, and what it will do, it will, as the insert and operation in info is going to be happen, soon this begin is going to be executed, and it will insert those values in student detail now as ID, as a student code, as student name, marks, and the current time is going to be noted here. So okay, let us try to insert some values here. I'm updating some value here. Okay, some name. Okay, the user is trying to enter here. Okay, now C++ some number. Okay, now let us try to insert this. Okay. So at the bottom you can see one row has been affected. So if I run now, first run the student info table. As we have inserted there, so we check for student info first. Okay. After insert. Okay. Yeah, here it has been okay. 15. You can see here 118 Ramesh. Okay, first inserted, and it has to be captured in my second table also. We'll see. Okay, so this is your table, capturing table, in which 15 118 Ramesh C++ 69 has been captured at the time 122. It's showing, right? So this is how you can capture. So after insertion, first we have inserted the values. Then if the user has been inserted, then we are capturing also. Okay, this is how we'll. Next we'll see before update function, how it's going to be performed. In that also I have taken some examples, some table, sales info. Okay, in which I am having the columns as ID, product quantity, and fiscal year. Okay, and I have already inserted some values here. Okay, inserted values here. Okay, okay, already inserted this problem. Okay, so let us check whether the values are there in the table or not. Yes, already there. Okay, fine. Now I have defined some trigger based on this table. So what it's going to do? What the condition is going to be checked? We'll see now. So I have just said now you can give some messages. So here I am declaring some messages. How? We'll see. So for that, we are having a keyword declare. Declare some error message that is of data type varchar of some 255 limits. And what error message I am setting here? The new quantity cannot be greater than 2 times of the current quantity. So I'm mentioning some quantity here, fiscal here, and product. So for Marcus, these are the quantities. So what I'm setting a threshold here, the quantity cannot be more than twice per year. So if suppose a user is updating my quantity some more than twice, then it has to give this error now. Okay, so for that I'm checking one condition that if suppose by update function, if the user is trying to enter a quantity which is more than 2 times of the current quantity, then this error has to be come. Okay, so for that I'm checking here condition old quantity into 2, then I'm raising an error with single SQL state. What do you mean by this? Single SQL state means some default machine errors are there up to some 50,000. Okay, 0 to 50,000 limits, we're having some error messages are there. Okay, if this message, our user message is not going to be displayed, the default machine error is going to be invoked here. That's why we are taking this as signal SQL state 45,000, and we're setting whatever the error message is there here, we're setting that message text. Okay, that message text is going to be displayed. Now I've already executed that. Now let us update. Okay, I'm trying to update here, which is quantity is more than 600. So for 2 ID 2, you can see in the below table the quantity is 120. So 120 into 2 is how much? 240, right? So 600 is more than 240, so it has to raise an error. So I am executing. So you can see the below bottom of the screen 25 at this time it has been raised an error. The new quantity cannot be greater than 2 times. So this is how we are not allowing user to update. If I'm giving some 100, so let us check. Yes, it's going to be updated. Why? It is not under this threshold value, so it's going to be updated. You can see one row affected. So we'll check selects info. Yes, it has been changed to 100, updated. So this is how triggers working on before update. Next, let us see after update. On after update, again I'm taking the help of some 2 tables, right? Student table and here student log table. Okay. So in which we are having in your student table, you're having a data like ID, name, class, and email IDs there. And student log table, I am using only 2 columns to capture the details based on the update. So here I am using a user and description, 2 columns. So what I am giving the condition here, you can see, I'm creating a trigger for update. And I'm mentioning the code as insert into the logs, that is second table, like concatenating. Concatenating means what? Bringing all the columns together. Okay, whatever the values there we're getting here. So as I'm having only 2 columns mentioned in the second table, that is user and the description. So for the description purpose, the user is going to display the user or whichever user, that details is going to be captured here. And in the second column, we are concatenating what with the help of updated student record, means which student name is going to be updated. For that, I'm giving one string here to get clear understanding, and which class is, for that I'm giving again string here, and class is going to be concatenated with that, and the new class, if it is updating some class to some other class, that is going to be concatenated, like you have using in your printf and scanf functions in your C. Same you can use here concatenated function. Okay, so already we have executed, so let us now try to update is update error. This was using to try to update issue. I've already executed this. Now let me show you. Okay, I have updated already before. Okay, let me show you. So from the root local host means your IP value is going to be stored here, and description as we have given updated status record. It's giving the same old name. From the table he is taking the name and class from the table, and present class is going to be +1, increment by +1, so 7. So this is how your trigger is going to be function. So means in after what we are going to do, we're taking examples of two tables. If is modifying in some table, we are capturing the details in the second table. That's it. Now let us see for the next example, that is before and after delete. For before delete, I have mentioned one salary here table in which I have given this value, inserted these values. Okay, and I have taken one more table, that is salary archives. In that I have taken some columns here. Means from table 1, if delete operation is going to be done, I am capturing those in table 2. So what I have given the code as, whenever a delete operation is going to perform, whatever the delete value is there, simply insert it into second table, that is salary archives. Okay, so let me run this first, whether I have created this table or not. Let me check. Oh, not done. Okay, now created. Let me insert these values in the table. Okay, inserted. Now let me display those values for your understanding. Okay, this is your table. Next, second table, for our capturing purpose, we are creating. Okay, then that has also created. Now let us run our trigger first. Okay, done. That also has been done. Now, whenever the user is trying to delete some any value, that is 105, 103 or something, that has to be captured into your second table. So let us run one delete function from your salaries. Delete function has been raised. Okay, has been executed. Next, check for your second table what values you are having. So 105 has been deleted from the first table now. So as well as deleted time is also good. Means if accidentally user is deleting your information from the table, so as we are not having any rollback operation there, so we are keeping a backup, you can say, so that our data is secured. So whatever the user, if it is performing any delete operation, also not a problem for us. We can get it as a backup in the second table with the help of before delete triggers. Now let us see after triggers. So for after triggers also, I'm taking the same examples of your salaries and total salary budget. One table I'm mentioning, and in that I'm not maintaining only single column, that is total budget. Okay, so what I'm doing here, means with the help of the first table, I am writing a total budget, means calculating all the sum of values and storing in my second table. What I am doing, okay, So let me run this table. I think salary is also there now. So let me create a second table, that is total budget. Okay. Okay, it has been created. Now let me insert some values. So what I'm doing in insert is total whatever budget is there, select sum of amount from salaries, calculate the sum to the salaries column and get that value in my total budget column in my table total salary budget. Let me execute this. Okay, fine, it has been executed. Now check for that, select asterisk from your which table, that is total salary budget. Okay, so what it has to do, it has to get the sum from the first table, right? So let me show you both the table, then you will get understand. Okay, let me run this both, then you will get to understand. Okay, so you're having two tables, that is one employee table, okay, and salaries and maintaining the salaries. So it's counting the sum of the salary and storing the second table. Okay, so what has to be done? What has to be done? In the trigger, what I'm mentioning is on salaries, if update to this salary is there, if some updation is there, means if someone is deleting some record from my salary table, suppose 109 has been deleted. So automatically this 40,000 has to be reduced from the second table also now. So for that I am writing this trigger that updating total salary budget table and so setting the total budget, that total budget minus all amount. If any delete operation is there on salaries, that salaries amount has to be deducted from the second table also. Okay, let me run this trigger first. Okay, it has been created. Next, let me delete one row from the salary table. So I'm deleting the 105 number. Okay, deletion from the salary also affected. Now check the both the table some salaries. Okay, run the both. Okay, from that 105 has been deleted, fine. Then as it has been deleted, the value is also reduced. Okay, this is how your triggers are going to be function. Okay, hope you have got it. So we'll stop our class here. Thank you.